Salton International Raceway outside Krugersdorp and the scene of the final round of Super Series 98, a homegrown stadium off-road series for cars, quads and motorcycles. The Clubman's Motorcycle Championship had been a closely fought affair, and after 5 rounds and 15 races, only 30 points separated the top 3 riders.
Well, race strategy now at this moment is to catch Clayton Duckworth. He is 9 points ahead of me, so I'd like to bring the points a little bit closer so that we can, if I can get closer to the championship and see if I can take first position.
The Clubman's class has been the best supported of all the categories in Super Series 98, with the biggest fields and some fantastic battles. It caters for weekend and non-professional riders, open to all engine sizes, and is regarded as a stepping stone for bigger things by many a competitor. This is where you learn your craft as a racer amongst a whole bunch of similarly inclined riders. Close racing is what the fans come to see, and in the first Clubman's race of the day they were not disappointed, as a heated battle for the lead developed between Malcolm Furness on his 250 Honda, another 250 Honda ridden by Bruce van der Merwe, and points leader Clayton Duckworth on his 250 Kawasaki. Adrian High, Henk Potgieter and Tyrone Cooper completed the top 6. Furness was in 4th position in the championship before this race and was determined to keep his position, because this could potentially leapfrog him ahead of Leonard Hall, who was only 9 points ahead and currently out of the top 6. As has become customary in Clubman's racing, a whole series of personal battles were being fought out throughout the field. Grant Wheeler here being pressured by Paul Richardson. But all eyes were on the battle for the lead, which was fast becoming the best race of the season. Duckworth, who had changed from a 125 to a 250 bike for this race, was as determined as Furness to get the victory, as he had only 9 points to defend in the championship. The same went for van der Merwe, who had already taken 3 overall victories and a second in the last 5 races. He was trailing Duckworth purely because he'd missed the very first race of the season. The leading trio were quickly pulling out a gap over Adrian High in 4th, who in turn was pulling away from the rest of the field. This was as close a battle for the lead as anyone could wish for. The crowd was enthralled as the race unfolded before their eyes, and one thing was certain, you'd have to be very brave to predict the outcome of this battle. 4 laps into the race, it still hadn't let up, except that both van der Merwe and Duckworth had been able to get past Furness. The pair were pulling away from Furness, who was coming under increasing pressure from High. Duckworth was in a solid position, should he finish where he was, because the points difference between first and second is only 2, and he had enough in hand not to have to win the race. But tell any motorsport competitor that he doesn't have to win a race, and he'll tell you to dream on. On the final lap, and Duckworth was attacking as hard as ever, while Furness had High breathing down his neck. Into the tight left-hander before the final sweep, and the Kawasaki pulled a beautiful move to take the lead from van der Merwe. This set him up to choose his line through the final right-handed sweep before the start-finish line, and all the Honda rider could do was to settle into 2nd position. Duckworth couldn't have asked for a better start to his day, increasing his points lead over van der Merwe to 11, with 2 races to go. Furness held on to 3rd ahead of High, Potgieter and Hall, with Cooper and Jeff Kruger completing the top 8. Kawasaki and Honda shared the spoils. Just after the start of the 3rd race of the day, with van der Merwe leading Duckworth, and disaster for Furness as he took a heavy tumble. His body language said it all. Van der Merwe had had a disastrous 2nd race, finishing 10th and giving another 11 points away to Duckworth, which meant that all the Kawasaki rider had to do was to make sure that he stayed on his bike to clinch the title. Furness did rejoin the race, but decided to call it a day a little while later. Lap 3 now, and Duckworth had passed van der Merwe to take the lead. In 3rd was Tyrone Cooper on a Honda, followed by Jaco du Toit on his Kawasaki and Paul Richardson on another Kawasaki. Duckworth had clearly decided to pull out all the stops, and van der Merwe's day turned even more sour when he put it down while in 2nd. He was almost helpless as 6 riders came past before he could get going again. This effectively put paid to any hope he might still have harbored of taking the title. Fast forward 2 laps, and Grant Wheeler fell foul of an unsuccessful overtaking attempt in the 3-way battle for 4th. This would drop him down to 10th at the end of the race. Clayton Duckworth was clearly on a roll, and nobody could touch him as he took his third successive victory of the day. Jaco du Toit did very well to finish second, while Bruce van der Merwe could only recover 2 places to eventually finish 6th. It's great to be champion.
You need good spots, especially because at the start of the year I was on 1 to 5, running with the 500s and the 250s. Now I've got the 250s, so I've got much better starts. I just stay up with the top ropes from the 250s down the straight, but with the 1 to 5 was much slower, so luckily I got the 250s.
So, a great finale to the championship for Duckworth as he took it by 28 points from van der Merwe. Honda riders did well to take 6 of the top 8 places. In the Pro Quad category, Brandon Martin had a 12-point lead over Christo van der Merwe, but Jacques Struig was only a further 2 points down.
I think we're 3 oaks up in the points, so any one of us can still take it today. I think the best thing is to get a good start today, and because it's very muddy out there, if you get a good start and try and keep it there, the other guys won't catch you. You know, it's difficult to overtake in the mud.
And muddy it certainly was as the riders got away for their first race of the day. Championship leader Brandon Martin jumping into the lead, leaving the rest of the field to sort themselves out in the slippery conditions. Defending champion Christo van der Merwe was back in 6th. The Pro Quad category caters for modified multi-terrain vehicles with engines larger than 200 cc's, and a mixture of Yamahas, Hondas, Rotaxes and Polaris machines traditionally make up the field. The leaders were already pulling away from the rest of the field as the riders struggled to come to grips with the conditions underfoot, and very soon the leader was the only one with clean clothing. At the end of the first lap, Martin was leading Jacques Struig, Brendan Badenhorst, Billy Coetzee, Evan Hutchison and van der Merwe. Although Martin had made a clean break, he knew that Struig was a dangerous adversary who simply never gives up. The battle for third was promising to become furious as the race progressed, as van der Merwe needed to get much closer to both Martin and Struig. The race now started to take on a pattern as the 2 leaders pulled away. Badenhorst was making his first appearance in the Pro Quad category after spending the whole season in the unmodified Super Quad category and was holding his own, while Francois Coetzee, or Billy as he's popularly known, was doing a great job of holding off van der Merwe, who had already got past Hutchison to move into 5th position. Van der Merwe on the Joburg Yamaha Banshee was trailing Martin on his 5-star Yamaha by 12 points in the championship before this race. But in their current positions, van der Merwe would give away another 5 points, a situation he clearly wasn't happy with. On lap 6 now, and still Martin was leading Struig on the Jojo tanked Honda, ahead of Brendan Badenhorst, 3rd in his rookie Pro Quad race. Struig was exactly where he wanted to be in relation with van der Merwe, who was only 2 points ahead before this race. The reigning champion was still languishing down in 5th position behind Billy Coetzee, also on a Jojo tanked Honda, with Evan Hutchison on the Line-X Yamaha starting to push. He forced van der Merwe wide in the final sweep, but van der Merwe held on, barely. Then drama struck as just out of view, leader Brendan Martin went wide, allowing Jacques Struig through into 1st position. Struig couldn't believe his luck and jumped at the opportunity, immediately starting to pull away. Martin wouldn't have been too unhappy with himself, as he still had a nice handful of points to play with. But in this type of racing, one can never become complacent. The battle for 4th was as furious as ever, with Billy Coetzee showing the tenacity that can make him a serious challenger in this category in the future. He was still holding off Christo van der Merwe and Evan Hutchison, who were keeping each other very busy indeed. There was no stopping Struig, however, who romped to an easy victory over points leader Martin, with Badenhorst finishing a very respectable 3rd. Hutchison moved up to 4th after van der Merwe stopped with mechanical problems and could only finish 12th. We pick up the action on the 2nd lap of the 3rd race, with Brandon Martin back in the lead, quite a way ahead of Jacques Struig and Christo van der Merwe, who was trying to get away from Brandon Badenhorst. Struig had won the 2nd race as well, ahead of Martin and van der Merwe, who'd solved his mechanical problems. But as matters stood before the start of the 3rd race, Martin had a 10-point lead over Struig, now up into 2nd position on the log, with a 13 points cushion over van der Merwe. Martin, on the 5-star Yamaha, was comfortable in the knowledge that he only had to concentrate on staying on his quad to clinch the championship. But his lapse of concentration in the first race must still have been nagging at the back of his mind. Van der Merwe was finally shaking off Badenhorst. Having disposed of the rookie, who finished 6th in the second race, Van der Merwe could now concentrate on catching Struig. 5 laps into the race and Martin was controlling the pace, not pushing too hard but keeping an eye out for Struig and Van der Merwe. By now it seemed as if Struig had given up on hoping that something would go wrong for the championship and race leader, so he decided to indulge in some horseplay with the soon-to-be deposed reigning champion. Struig and Van der Merwe are old adversaries on the track, and the Joburg Yamaha rider was obviously not impressed with Struig's antics. This kind of thing can lead to some dramatic developments. The battle for second was obviously going to continue for a while, but down the field there were some other dramatic personal battles being fought out. David Parkinson on his Yamaha was holding on to 6th position, but was under pressure from Butch Eekhout on another Yamaha. But back to the front on lap 7, where Brandon Martin was well on his way to a victory to take the title in style. But Struig was playing games again while lying in 2nd position. This time, however, things didn't quite go according to plan, and he was lucky that he was able to get his Jojo Tanks Honda going again in 5th position and not losing his 2nd place in the championship to Van der Merwe. Martin ended his season the best way possible with a fine victory, well ahead of the rest of the field. Van der Merwe salvaged some pride with a 2nd place, while Badenhorst could also feel good about his 2nd, 3rd place of the day, ahead of Hannes Simon.
Yeah, I wanted to end the season off with a win. I got a bit tired in the first heat, but I managed to pull it off in the last heat. So I'm very happy.
Back to the two-wheelers now, and in the open motorcycle category, only 20 points separated the top 4 riders in the championship. Ryan Hunt knew that he had his work cut out.
Because I missed the last round when I went to the Motocross Des Nations, although I won all the previous rounds, I'm down 17 points, and so it's going to be tough today because there aren't that many points to get if the guys finish in the positions I expect them to finish in, so it's going to be tight at the end of the day.
Hunt, a multiple former motocross champion, has a reputation for being quick out of the starting blocks, and he certainly lived up to it as he shot into the lead on his Fuchs Silkeline KTM. Right behind him were Freddie Fourie on his Elna Fox Kawasaki, Mark Ramsey on a Suzuki, Petrus van Vuren on another Elna Fox Kawasaki, Gary Lipchik on a Honda, and Alan Julian on another Honda. With only 5 points between Julian and Fourie before this race, all eyes were on the gap between the two. 25 for a win, 23 for 2nd, 22 for 3rd, 21 for 4th, and 20 points for 5th are the figures to keep in mind here. At the end of the first lap, things had started to settle down, with Hunt in the lead ahead of Fourie, Ramsey and Julian. Fourie needed to keep at least one rider between himself and Julian if he had any hope of closing the points gap. While Hunt had lost out because of his overseas commitments in September, Julian has had a very consistent season, regularly finishing in the top 4. 4 laps into the race now, and Fourie had caught up with Hunt. Mark Ramsey was also pushing as hard as he could to get into touch with the leading pair. Hunt has had the most successful season as far as victories are concerned, having won all the races in which he's taken part. But the only blot in his copybook was the previous event, where should he have won as well, he could have written the title behind his name. Alan Julian was still down in 4th, giving away 2 points to Fourie on current positions. So the Kawasaki rider was trying his best to get into the lead for an extra 2 points. Petrus van Vuren was lying in 5th position, but was coming under increasing pressure from Gary Lipchik, carrying his trademark Pink Panther on his back. But there was no one to seriously challenge the dominating form of Ryan Hunt, and the top order remained the same. This result meant that Julian now had only a 3-point advantage over Fourie and 13 over Hunt, with 2 races to go and a maximum of 60 points still up for grabs. The third race of the day, and on lap 2, Hunt and Fourie were at each other's throats again, but this time Alan Julian stayed with them. Hunt had won the second race as well aboard his Fuchs Sulcaline KTM, but Mark Ramsey had finished second on his Suzuki ahead of Freddie Fourie on the top-running Elna Fox Kawasaki. Julian on his Honda was fourth again, and as far as the championship was concerned, this meant that Julian's lead over Fourie had shrunk to just 2 points, and that over Hunt to 9. Julian therefore needed just to stay behind Fourie to take the title by a single point. Dave White on his Kawasaki was lying in 8th and already had 2 8th places in the bag in the previous 2 races. He was being pushed hard by Jaco Marie on a Honda. Mark Ramsey had been trying all the time to catch up with the leading trio after going wide in the first corner on the first lap, but he was going to have to do it all over again when his front wheel gave way beneath him, dropping him down to 5th. With the championship at stake, no one was really going to try anything funny, and Ryan Hunt and Freddie Fourie decided to remain where they were until the end. With Alan Julian remaining in 3rd position up to the checkered flag, the championship was sewn up, with Julian taking the title, 1 point ahead of Fourie. But the small points margin didn't matter at all.
The last race worked out very well for me with Mark Ramsey going wide on the first turn, and all I had to do was just make sure I finished behind Freddie, and luckily Ryan did well enough to hold him off until the end, so it lands up I beat Freddie by 1 point, which I mean, good enough for me, so I'm pretty happy with the whole event.
This was the closest title battle in Super Series 98, with only 6 points separating the top 3 finishers. To the cars now, and in the Super Special category, Henry Kirstein was 20 points ahead of Max Moore, while Frank de Greef had sewn up the production vehicle category long ago. Unfortunately, the combined race for the motor vehicle categories was a bit of an anticlimax, as the super trucks were absent, leaving a depleted field of 2 production vehicles and 4 special vehicles to give the competitors some consolation. It wasn't fair on the competitors, but the race was doomed as a spectacle from the start. It didn't take the special vehicles long to get past the 2 F&D Racing Mazda Buckies of Willem Marx and Frank de Greef, who were going to play with each other anyway. Henry Kirstein was under no threat in the championship as Max Moore didn't enter for the race, so he duly opened up an early lead in his Rockford Chenoweth. Behind him, Miguel Aegis on his Green Mamba and Glenn Clarkson in his Radflow Dart got involved in a dice for 2nd position in the Super Special category, showing that one can still have some real fun even though nothing of substance was on the line. On the 5th lap of the race now, and Kirstein had opened up his lead even further, while Clarkson had been able to pull away from the often smoking Green Mamba. Aegis was starting to come under pressure from Colin Matthews in his off-tracks Volkswagen, the pair having to keep an eye out for de Greef, leader of the 2 production vehicles. This had turned into an action-packed little battle, with the 2 Super Specials and de Greef really giving it their all. Matthews saw his chance on the inside of the final sweep, and it took some nifty car control for the 2 vehicles not to touch. Aegis obviously had the better drive of the 2 out of the sweep, and he kept on the outside in the run down to the first corner. This was quite some dice. Henry Kirstein was enjoying himself too, keeping an eye on the progress of Glenn Clarkson, and behind the leading pair, the battle for 3rd was continuing to be the main focus of the race. Aegis was smoking through virtually every corner, probably some oil leaking onto a hot pipe, while de Greef was staying in touch with Colin Matthews. Finally, Matthews succeeded in forcing Aegis to go wide in one of the tight right-handers, and he moved up to 3rd, with de Greef following suit, also getting past the Green Mamba as the race drew to a close. Although the order didn't change after that, at least the competitors and spectators had some fun watching Kirstein take the Super Special class and championship, and de Greef the production vehicle category.
The pity Mac wasn't here, Jappy about it, all the other guys, but for the 2 guys that were here, we had an excellent day and a lot of fun out there. And thanks to everybody and to our sponsors that help us this year to make it possible. And thanks to Video Sports.